At the hospital where I work as an intern nurse, there's one floor everyone talks about but rarely visits. It's the floor just above the maternity ward, a place that used to care for postpartum mothers and newborn babies. Now, that floor has been closed for more than 10 years. The lights are off, the hallway is dark, and the air feels colder than anywhere else in the building. Technically, the floor is still listed as part of the hospital facilities, but only for occasional clinical training. Even then, they only use one room near the elevator. The rest is left empty, silent, and sometimes it feels like it's waiting. I always heard rumors from senior nurses. If you see a white figure at the end of the hallway, don't look into her eyes. If you hear a baby crying, don't follow the sound. But whatever you do, never enter the last room. Of course, I thought they were just trying to scare new interns. But that night, I learned something important. In a hospital, not every story is a joke. That day, I was on the night shift. The ER was crowded, the midwives were short-staffed, and my clinical instructor suddenly asked me to grab a set of equipment she said was still stored in the training room on that forbidden floor. Since everyone else was busy, I had to go. The elevator trembled slightly as its doors opened on the closed floor. Darkness. Only a small lamp beside the elevator glowed weakly. A long hallway stretched out like a black tunnel with no end. Dust covered the walls, and the usual sharp smell of antiseptic had turned stale and faint. I swallowed hard. Just grab the equipment and go. Easy. The training room was right next to the elevator, so it should have been quick. But the moment I walked right toward the room, I heard a sound from the far end of the hallway, soft footsteps, like someone dragging hospital slippers. I froze. Probably just a rat, maybe the wind. But then I saw it. A hazy white silhouette stood at the end of the hallway, tall, thin, hair falling over her face. A woman, motionless, just standing there, facing my direction. A cold shiver crawled up my neck, like someone was breathing ice behind me. "No, it's just a shadow," I muttered. I hurried into the training room. After finding the equipment box, I turned to leave. But the door suddenly vibrated, as if something was scraping its nails along the outside surface. Scratch, slow, long. I stepped back, gripping the box tightly. When the sound finally stopped, I slowly cracked the door open and peeked outside. The hallway looked empty, or that's what I thought at first. On the floor, right outside the door, were footprints, thin, wet prints, like someone had walked barefoot across a damp surface. The footprints stretched all the way to the last door. I knew that door. The one no one was supposed to open, the one sealed after a tragedy years ago. A mother died during childbirth, and her newborn didn't survive. Many said her spirit never left the floor, still searching for her baby. As I stared at the footprints, the last door at the end of the hallway creaked open just a little, like someone was inviting me in. "I need to go back downstairs," I whispered. But as I tried walking toward the elevator, my feet stopped on their own. From inside the last room came a tiny sound, soft, calling, a baby's cry. Quiet, but unmistakable. Impossible. This floor had been closed for years. No babies, no patients, no one. Yet something inside me pulled me closer, like the sound had hooked into my mind. Each step felt heavy, like walking through thick water. The baby's cry shifted into the faint moan of a woman, someone struggling between life and death. My hand reached for the door handle. Right as my fingers touched the metal, the voice behind the door changed into a hoarse whisper. Please, my baby. I stumbled backward, nearly dropping the box. The door slammed shut on its own, shaking the entire hallway. The small lamp near the elevator flickered like it was dying, and in the elevator's reflective door, I saw her standing right behind me, that hazy white figure. I hit the elevator button over and over, nearly frantic. The doors closed slowly, painfully slowly. Just before they shut completely, the figure turned her face toward me. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her dark eyes were hollow, empty. The doors sealed shut. The floor disappeared. When I reached the lower level, I ran straight to the staff room, pale and shaking. My instructor looked at me and simply asked, "You saw her, didn't you?" Since that night, I've never gone back to that floor, but sometimes, during quiet night shifts, the faint cry of a baby still echoes through the vents, and everyone who hears it knows one thing: that floor was never truly empty. We didn't close room 12 in the MICU because the equipment was broken or because we were short-staffed. We closed it because too many patients kept seeing a nurse who was never listed on any schedule. The MICU is a place where life is held together by machines. The lights never truly go out, and the steady beeping of monitors sounds like a clock that refuses to stop. In a place like this, hallucinations are not unusual. Patients can see shadows, hear voices, or mistake one face for another. That's why, at first, we didn't panic. The first complaint came from an elderly man recovering from heart surgery. In the middle of the night, he called for a nurse, his voice shaking. "The nurse was just here," he said. "Which nurse, sir?" "The one wearing white, an old-style uniform. She was standing beside my head." We assumed confusion. There were no nurses dressed like that. All staff wore modern uniforms. We reassured him and moved on. The next night, another patient in room 12 pressed the call button. "Why does the nurse just stand there?" she asked. "She doesn't say anything," she whispered. "She just rocks back and forth like she's soothing a baby." That was when we started keeping notes. Days passed, patients came and went, different ages, different conditions, yet every report from room 12 described the same figure, a young female nurse dressed in a long white uniform with a simple head covering that resembled a nun's habit, and they all mentioned the same unsettling detail. The nurse never made eye contact. She always stood on the left side of the patient's head. Her body moved slowly, gently rocking, and her gaze always fixed on the window above the patient's pillow. That window overlooked the hospital cemetery. We tried to stay scientific. Doctors suggested sundowning syndrome, ICU delirium, medication side effects, logical explanations that sounded convincing until one patient, fully alert, with no cognitive impairment, asked calmly, "Why is the nurse dressed like a nun?" The room felt colder after that. A longtime staff member finally spoke up. She had worked there back when the old building was still in use. "Years ago," she said quietly, "this hospital was run by nuns. They served as nurses too. One of them was named Mary. Mary died in the late 1950s, a car accident right outside the hospital grounds. She was about 30 years old, much younger than the other nuns. After her death, the system changed. The nuns were gradually replaced by modern medical staff, but her burial remained the same. She was laid to rest in the cemetery now visible from the ICU windows." The night before room 12 was officially closed, a patient's alarm went off for no medical reason. The monitors were normal, blood pressure stable, but the patient was crying silently, tears streaming down their face. "She's here again," they whispered, "but this time she's closer." I stood frozen in the doorway. The room was dim, the curtain by the window was slightly open. And then I saw her. Not a face, not eyes, just the long white uniform, old-fashioned, the simple head covering, a figure gently rocking back and forth, repeating the same motion as if it had been practiced for decades. She stood at the left side of the bed, facing the window, facing the graves. I closed the curtain quickly. My heart was pounding. When I opened it again, the room was empty. The next morning, the decision was made without debate. Room 12 was cleared, the bed removed, the machines relocated. Now the room is used for storage. And among the staff, there is one unspoken rule: no one enters alone. Sometimes, during the quietest hours of the night, we hear faint sounds from behind the locked door, like fabric brushing against fabric, or a wooden chair gently rocking. We never open the door to check, because in the MICU, there are things better left unseen. And that nurse? She isn't on duty anymore. She's just not finished taking care of her patients.